12,000 years ago, before the wheel, before writing, before a single brick of any city we know, someone carved massive stone pillars covered in animals and symbols, and then buried them on purpose. Historians said that was impossible for people at that stage of human development. The ruins didn't care what the textbooks said. They just sat there in the dirt, quietly waiting to prove everyone wrong. For over a century, we've been told a simple story about how civilization began. Farming came first, then villages, then temples, then writing. Simple, tidy, and mostly wrong. Today we're digging into 8 real archaeological sites that don't fit that story at all. Places so old, so precise, or so strange that mainstream history had to quietly rewrite itself after finding them. Some of these sites are older than the pyramids by thousands of years. Others were engineered with a level of precision we still struggle to explain with the tools historians say were available at the time. And stick around, because the very last one on this list is an object so far ahead of its time that scientists spent decades refusing to even believe it was real. Number 1. Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey. This site is over 11,600 years old. That's roughly twice the age of Stonehenge, and it predates the invention of pottery, metal tools, writing, and even farming itself. But here's the thing. Textbooks always said organized religion came after agriculture. Once humans finally had free time and stable food, Göbekli Tepe flips that completely on its head. Hunter-gatherers, armed with nothing but stone tools, somehow organized enough coordinated labor to carve, transport, and raise 20-ton limestone pillars into massive circular enclosures. Nobody actually lived there full-time. No houses, no kitchens, no trash pits. It was built purely for ritual and gathering, then deliberately buried under tons of soil once it had served its purpose, almost like it was meant to be hidden from time itself. Which means belief, not bread, may have been the true foundation of the first civilization. Number 2. Baalbek in Lebanon. Buried in the base of a Roman temple sit 3 limestone blocks, each weighing over 800 tons. And a nearby stone, still sitting unfinished in the quarry, weighs close to 1,650 tons, heavier than 4 fully loaded jumbo jets stacked together. Modern construction cranes today would strain and fail trying to lift just a fraction of that weight. And yet someone managed to cut these blocks, transport them, and fit them together with almost no visible gap, centuries before the Romans ever arrived to build their temple on top. Who actually quarried and moved them, and exactly how, is still a genuinely open debate among engineers. Number 3. Puma Punku. High in the Bolivian Andes. The stone blocks here aren't just heavy, they're engineered with almost unsettling precision, cut with interlocking notches, perfect 90-degree angles, and drill holes so uniform in diameter that they look machine-made. And that's not all. This level of precision exists at over 12,000 feet of elevation, using tools that were supposedly limited to stone and bronze. Some blocks fit together like modern puzzle pieces, leaving almost zero room to slide even a knife blade between them. Whoever built this understood applied geometry most of us today would need a computer to double-check. Number 4. The Yonaguni Monument, resting underwater off the coast of Japan. Divers exploring the site found step terraces, sharp right angles, and what looks unmistakably like a carved staircase, sitting 75 feet below the surface of the Pacific. If it's purely a natural rock formation, it's an extraordinary coincidence of erosion. But if it's man-made, it would have to be over 10,000 years old, dating back to a time when sea levels were low enough for it to actually sit on dry land. Either answer rewrites something important, either geology surprised us or human history did. Number 5. Sacsayhuamán. Overlooking the city of Cusco, Peru. Its walls are built from stones weighing up to 200 tons, cut into irregular, almost puzzle-like polygon shapes, and fitted together so tightly that you cannot slide a sheet of paper into the seams, with zero mortar required. But here's the part that really keeps structural engineers up at night. These walls have survived multiple massive earthquakes that completely flattened Spanish colonial buildings constructed right next to them. The ancient stones simply shift, flex, and resettle back into place. We are, quite literally, still studying how the builders pulled that off on purpose. Number 6. Nan Madol. A nearly forgotten city built across 92 artificial islets off the coast of Micronesia. Builders stacked massive hexagonal basalt columns like giant log cabins, some individual columns weighing up to 50 tons, across open shallow water, with none of the equipment we'd consider necessary today. Locals sometimes call it the Venice of the Pacific, but almost nobody outside the region has ever heard of it. Some of those basalt columns had to be floated across the lagoon on rafts, then stacked with a precision that has held for over 800 years. And that's the real twist here. An engineering feat this massive sat quietly for centuries, largely because it simply didn't fit neatly into the version of history Western archaeology was writing at the time. Number 7. The Longyou Caves in eastern China, discovered completely by accident in 1992, when a local farmer decided to drain a suspiciously deep pond. Inside were 24 massive man-made caverns, carved with perfectly parallel chisel marks covering every single wall and ceiling. There are no historical records mentioning them, no local legend passed down, no inscriptions naming who built them or when or why. An entire underground complex, large enough to hold thousands of people, had simply vanished from human memory, hiding under a fish pond for who knows how many centuries. And now, the bonus fact that changes everything: the Antikythera mechanism. In 1900, sponge divers found a corroded, unremarkable lump of bronze in a shipwreck near a small Greek island. For decades, it sat almost ignored in a museum drawer, written off as scrap. Then modern X-ray and CT scans finally revealed the truth hiding inside the corrosion. Over 30 precision bronze gears, working together like clockwork to track the sun, the moon, and even predict future eclipses. It's now called the world's first analog computer, built roughly 2,000 years ago. Scientists initially refused to believe something this mechanically advanced could possibly be that old. It took modern imaging technology centuries later to finally prove the ancient engineers right, and every skeptic wrong. So what do all 8 of these places actually have in common? Every single one forced trained experts to publicly admit they didn't have the full story after all. And if history has already been quietly rewritten 8 separate times, what else are we still getting wrong today? Tell us in the comments which one of these blew your mind the most. And if you learned something new, hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next mystery we uncover. We'll see you in the next one.